Hello, students. Welcome to yet another session of Literary and Cultural Theory. Today, I'll be talking to you about the 10 principles or tenets of liberal humanism. So, let's take a look at the first one. Liberal humanists believe that good literature is of timeless significance. Now, what does this phrase timeless significance denote? Let's take, for example, William Shakespeare, the greatest dramatist who lived during the reign of Queen Elizabeth. Now, you've written a number of works, literary works, which are still revered, widely read. There are a lot of literary, theatrical, film adaptations happening till date. Now, why does it happen? The simple answer is because of the timeless significance. As Ben Jonson critiqued about his work, he said Shakespeare wrote not for an age, he wrote for all time. So people of all generation, all age groups, all time, they can relate with the characters, the story, what they go through, what these characters go through in his work. There is a universal appeal to the literary works which Shakespeare penned out. Why? Let's take, for example, the great tragedies that he's written: Macbeth, Hamlet, Othello. Well, you find in Macbeth a central character flow that is greed, which we can all relate with within ourselves. Then in Hamlet, you find procrastination, where you keep on not doing something for a longer period of time. So these characteristics are what humans often exhibit. And that was the best part about Shakespeare's work, too. He was able to portray or to speak what was constant and enduring or lasting in human nature. That is why we could all relate with his stories and still appreciate it, still make adaptations of the same. So any literary work that can stand the test of time, that can transcend or move beyond the limitations or peculiarities of the age in which it was written, such literature is deemed as good literature according to liberal humanists. Now, the second principle is with regard to the meaning of a literary text. For the liberal humanist, the literary text contains its own meaning within itself, which simply means that you need not look into any other external factors or context in which this work had been written. For example, you need not look into the personal details of the author, the autobiographical details. You need not look into the socio-political background. You need not look into any literary or historical, influences. For example, whether the work follows the convention of a particular genre, or whether it shows influence of other literary works or writers. None of those aspects need to be considered when you're looking for meaning of a literary text, because it is contained within that text. Now, the third principle follows the second tenet, where they talk about how to read a literary text. According to liberal humanists, you have to detach, separate a literary text from all these above mentioned contexts. You can study the text in isolation, focus more on the words, focus only on the words which are given within those texts. Uh, they advocated what is known as close verbal analysis of text, verbal as in words. You're focusing your attention on the words so that you can, gather the meaning that is contained within the literary text. You need not have any prior knowledge, preconceived ideas about why this work was written or what prompted this work. None of those things should first your reading. Focus only on the words. The fourth principle that liberal humanists speak about is with regard to the nature of literary text. Now, they gave more prominence to the aspect of continuity in literature rather than innovation, and this is something that they connect with human nature. Because for liberal humanists, human nature is essentially unchanging. There are certain passions, certain emotions, or let's say certain situations that kind of replicate itself throughout history. You see that occurring again and again in history. For example, you feel sad when you lose somebody closer, or you win something and you feel happy. Maybe the way you express these emotions and passions are different, but the core essence are the same. So, this aspect of continuity is what they expect as part of good literature. there is very little space for innovation. Let's say when you look into a postmodern novel, you often find the story beginning in the middle or at the end. There could be multiple endings or even open ended stories. So, that sort of innovation was not something you could find at this point of time. It's not that there was no works which were written, which cater to innovation, but those kind of literature were not deemed as good literature according to liberal humanists. So the focus was on continuity or what was unchanging as you could find in human nature. Now let's take a look at the fifth point. So here, liberal humanists focus on the aspect of individuality. Individuality is something that all of us possess. It's part of our, or it is our unique essence. Now, according to liberal humanists, individuality is something which can change, which can develop, but can never be transformed. Now, what do they mean by this? Let's take, for example, Jane Austen's Emma. At the beginning of the novel, you find her as a, she's a rich, clever, kind of spoiled but self-reliant, who believes in her own matchmaking abilities, who meddle in other people's affair in life, and she's headstrong. So during the course of her life, sudden instances happen, and you find her individuality or her character kind of developing or reforming or even changing, but not transformed. The essential core or the essence of her character remains intact. But there are certain novels, stories, for example, of Charles Dickens, let's say, where the characters undergo sudden change of heart when certain situations occur. So maybe at the beginning of a story, you have a villain character. Something happens in his life, and he undergoes a sudden change of heart and becomes a good man. Or a good man and a good woman get corrupted by wealth, and the complete individuality or personality changes. So in these instances, you find a complete transformation of the personality or individuality, which is not believable according to liberal humanists. Because individuality is in essence, it transcends all the social, political, cultural influences. It can develop, but cannot undergo complete change of heart or completely be transformed into something else. So that is for today. Thank you again for patiently listening to today's lecture.